first of all, welcome to all of my beloved listeners. Anyone that is tuning in, you're in for such a treat. You are here today with literally, like, if I had a brother, I always wanted a brother. If I had a brother, this would be my brother. Eric, I'm so excited. My brother from another mother. I'm so happy you're here today. We have so much catching up to do, and I'm really excited to share. You have so much wisdom, so much heart. You're someone that I'm so thankful I get to share with this beautiful community. So welcome.
Thanks for having me, my sister from a different mister. So good to be
We
with you, Julie.
we crack ourselves up every time we say this, but it's true. It's true. Since day one, I just and I it, there's I just want to say you never know how you're going to meet. You could meet somebody that really could change your life, and I feel like we met almost. Gosh, was it almost 10 years ago at this point? I think.
I think it was 2016 or 17, maybe,
Yeah, maybe not quite. So right when I'd
or
started my
maybe earlier.
business. Yeah.
I found not too long ago, I actually found the very first introductory text message and I sent it to you. And I'm going to look it up because
Yeah.
now I'm curious.
Yeah.
It was
Well, here's what's interesting. When I was working, my day
April
job.
30th, 2015 at
Ah,
6:58 a.m. was the
wow.
intro text
Oh my
over
gosh.
Facebook.
Nice. Yeah, we got this intro text. Our the connector is Kevin, who's sending love and light to Kevin wherever he may be in the world. And yeah, I just, it's funny. I remember I'd left my corporate day job and I had this, this guy I was friendly with through work. And he said, Julie, I've literally met your brother from another mother. He's so positive. I think, he was like raving about you. And I was like, oh, well then put it, if he's positive and he's into making a difference in the, like, put us in touch. And I remember when we met, I was like, oh, I could totally see why he said that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then not too long after, I hired you as my very first coach, and you changed my life. And so I really, really, I mean, I'm so grateful for you. Always honor you, and I always recommend you and share the story. Even though I'm a coach, I still think you're the one that lit the way for so much in my life. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. I feel like, first of all, thank you for just being open and willing. And one of the things I remember, thank you for saying that. I remember when we started working together, first of all, I was like, all right, you are already, here's the thing, and this is what I think is so great about coaching. You already were successful, like by any metric or any, by anyone's observation. And maybe you can share for a minute because I thought it was interesting. And for those that have things that are working in their life, like coaching is not just when life is like, tanking, although it can be. But I just thought, I remember it was like this precipice of like, there's a new horizon and how do I step into that? Do you want to share for a minute? Because I remember that time so well.
Well, I'm now what I knew back then. Well, I didn't know this back then, but I know now. I was what I call a sad clown. So on the
Yeah.
outside, it was happiness, right? Six-figure job, nice car, nice house, beautiful wife, great family. Um, but I did not want to be where I was, and I had no idea where I wanted to be. Yet I'm the guy that was posting motivational stuff on social media, inside fighting a war in my head.
Mm.
And I just didn't know. And that's why Kevin, what he saw was this positive guy. And that's how I want to show up in the world. I am positive. I am optimistic. I think things will work out. But you could be the most positive person in the world. Like, we see the tragedy that happened with Robin Williams. You will never outperform your own self-image. And I
Mm.
didn't know that back then. I just knew that something was off. I was almost feeling, I wasn't clinically diagnosed or anything, but if I could describe what I was, it was probably, close to depression and just anger and turmoil inside. And I think that's because there was misalignment. There
Yeah.
was no guidance. I didn't have goals. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't have any of that figured out. It's kind of like every day is just another day.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what you helped me work on.
Mm. I really appreciate what you're saying, Eric, about this whole like sad clown. I actually saw one of your emails recently and you were talking about this and it's interesting. And I can relate to this for me, that people pleasing, like, oh, it just seems like all is great and well. And in some ways, as you said, like I love your wife. I love your family. You like things were working. But as you said, I love this idea of like, you cannot, it's true. You can't outperform. You can't, the image we hold of ourselves, the way we view ourselves, the way we love or don't love ourselves will determine what happens in our life. And, it's interesting. I remember that conversation. I think it was one of the first conversations. I was like taking notes and I remember you just, it was like, how do I change this? Like, how do I change this? And that was like just that willingness and that awareness. And I have to say, sometimes that can be one of the most important parts in the beginning, is just really being willing and open. And that was something with you. I mean, coming from like the Marines and like your background. And I'm like, wow, this person, you have such openness and willingness, a big heart, and you so wanted to make a difference. And I thought your authenticity and your ability to be vulnerable and really look at yourself was one of the most incredible things. I always say, and I know you do this now as a coach, you do this now, but that ability to say, you know what, like this is not working, and I'm willing to do what it takes. And you did it. You really showed up, Eric. I mean, I remember this with the journaling. I don't know. You can share if you like.
Oh my gosh. I still remember you're like, you gotta, we have to set up a morning routine, start journaling. And I'm like, what is journaling? Is that like writing in the diary? I don't write in diaries. You're like, no, just start. I said, okay, fine, I'll start journaling. What do I write? Just write anything. Well, what's anything? Like whatever comes to mind, just start writing.
Yeah.
And I remember first day sitting down, I'm like, okay, literally the first line was, what the hell am I supposed to be writing about? That's what I wrote. And then it just poured out. I think I may have like journaled for like 35 minutes nonstop. 5 pages came out of my head.
Yep.
And it's a practice I still hold dearly daily. Like this is today's entry, right? And
Wow.
it's something that I'm getting better journals now because it's kind of like a connection. Like I pick them up and this one doesn't feel right. I pick one. It's one of those things where you could go spend 50, $60 on a journal, $90 on a journal just because it feels right. And I think that's the place where you have your conversation with God. I didn't know that back then. Whatever your God is, right? It doesn't really, yeah.
Mm. Okay. I'm like, we could just go way. And I think it's really, really powerful what you're saying. And I have to say, I've coached men and women. Oftentimes though, there's this, I've seen not just with men, but this like you said, like, what am I supposed to be writing? What am I even doing here? And, what I've seen personally, and then I know through you, through others, is that connecting in, it unlocks this greater connection
Mm-hmm.
to, you said, God, higher power, your higher self, whatever it is. And what's been amazing for me, just kind of on the sidelines, is watching what's unfolded in your life since you started. I love that you have all those fancy journals. Now you're talking my language.
We can geek out on journals.
We can geek out on all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're connecting with the divine, with God, with your greater gifts. Like, I have watched you, and I think to share with everyone, like, you've redesigned your future. And it wasn't that it was bad. I know you said that there was the sad clown aspect, but like what you're doing today, who you are today, this is the thing that makes me like, I just get so excited because you are literally showing up fully in your highest potential and you're helping so many people.
Thank you. Thank you. And always looking for that next, though I'm very grateful of where I am, always
Yeah.
looking for that next, goal and purpose. You read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, right? I mean, it's so important for us to always have that next step, that next goal ahead of us.
Yeah.
It's easy. Did you know that astronauts, when they come back from space, fall in the deepest depression?
Mm,
Usually. because like once you went to space, like what else is there, right? Like
Like
what's
Mars?
next? What are
Yeah.
you gonna climb a mountain? Like, yeah, right.
Right.
That's
Right.
not exciting. Um, and so as people, we have this urge to grow
Yeah.
innately. Like everything in life grows, right? Everything in the universe is there to grow to its fullest and greatest potential.
Mm.
And we have that. And I think when we don't, that's where we feel anxious and stressed and angry and those feelings that we don't want.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. And if you're open to it, I love that you brought in just the whole idea of how the universe works, because I mean, you and I have had many a deep, in-depth spiritual conversation, which is one of the things I adore about you. Like, you are able to go deep, deep, deep below the surface. I would love to talk about goals, like both from what you have helped so many people do, but this urge to grow. I think even looking at it from that aspect of this is what we know to be true in the universe. This is what happens in nature. Um, let's go into goals. Like, for people that are like, all right, I don't even know where to begin. Um, where do you usually start with someone who's like, maybe feels a little despondent or feels like, they haven't had that integrity with themselves or that trust with themselves. So it might feel daunting, or it might feel like, well, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, usually I think that most people, they make some mistakes of setting goals because they set goals based on what they believe they can achieve.
Yeah.
They set goals based on what they've done in the past, what's realistic. I mean, we're even taught the grow model,
Mm.
right? No, not the grow model, the SMART goals model. What is that? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic.
Realistic
And
and
it's
timely.
like, well, okay, let's take that R out for a second and examine that, right? And nobody wants to examine it because realistic means what? It means that it's, you
Mm,
know, a lot of people can achieve it. Well, I was told that when you follow the masses, sometimes the M is silent. Like, I don't think you should set realistic goals. I think that
that's funny.
um, goals should be exciting and scary and, something like an adventure that you're going on that's
Yeah.
you want to wake up for. And I think that's one of the mistakes people make. They set goals that just don't excite them. Now, there are people who don't know where to start, right?
Right.
So with them, I think we got to build a goal setting and a goal getting muscle. Because those two things, it's going to be hard for you to, if you've never done this, to start and grow a company to 7, 8 figures if you've never set a small goal and achieved it. So I would start by saying, what would just be awesome for you to do this month? Just
Mm,
something, I don't know, maybe can we set a goal that you journal or read 10 pages out of a book every day for 30 days? And it's that discipline, that skill of setting something, coming up with a clear plan, scheduling it, and actually doing it. And when they don't do it, then we can examine, well, where do you think you fell short? Was it in the schedule? Was it what was it about that, right? We can hone in on it. But you start with something small. You don't give them, okay, let's go start Walmart.
yeah.
Because it truly is a muscle that we have to build. Goal setting. Now, goal achievement, goal getting, that's a lawful process. I am a
Mm,
firm believer in that. Like, you plant the seed and you plant the seed properly, you really don't need to go in there and tweak it every day to make sure it grows. You just got to, water it, get the sun to hit it right, put it in the right environment. The nature and universe, they're going to really take care of everything else. And God. And same thing with our goals. The second we commit, like the second you commit, like this is what I'm doing, universe aligns itself. It just, you start meeting people that you never thought you would meet, just crazy circumstances. They're not crazy, it's just a lawful process. Things just start happening. There's this thing called the law of attraction. Like, stuff just starts happening that you cannot explain, and you just have to be grateful for it.
mm. I want to talk about gratitude for a second, but
Mm-hmm.
before that, I'm just like, I get so excited. I have this smile on my face. This is how I know I'm having a good time, is like my cheeks are already hurting. My cheeks right here are hurting. Like I'm just smiling and I'm like, oh my God, so happy to be talking to you. And I love, love, love what you're saying. I want to go back for a minute. This is really, really important. And it's also, I know you as a coach, in the coaching world, this motivation around your goal, what you're saying, I think this is huge, is we often look at what's realistic, what has been done in the past. So you're staying in the past versus, and I love what you said about it being an adventure. It should feel a little scary, exciting. Like it should make you kind of the way I'm so kinesthetic, Eric. I was like, to me, it's like, it feels like my belly, like I've got butterflies and I might want to throw up a little bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would be my definition. Like,
Yeah, palms are sweating, your heart's racing, like you
yeah,
don't want to do it sometimes
yeah,
because you have to become somebody else.
that's right. That's right.
You're going to grow into that goal because if you
Mm,
if you could have already had that goal at where you are presently, you would have had it.
yeah. Yeah. This goes back to what you were saying as well about the way you view yourself, your self-image, and also, I think a lot of it too with what you're saying, it's, the stories you're telling yourself, the way your mindset, but also the inner vision of yourself. If it's okay, realistic, and I think that's so smart. I had never thought about it with SMART goals. Like the R actually should be like in quotes, and it should have a little like note at the bottom, footnote that says actually make it unrealistic.
Where are you originally from? Do I remember Boston for some reason?
Yeah, I'm from Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Instead of smart, say it like they would say it in Boston. Smat.
I have no accent, but I totally
Yeah,
know it because I grew up with it. Yeah, exactly. Say it like you're smart.
it's Smat.
Smart goals. That's really good. Yeah, like take that R or like flip it. It actually should be like SMAUT, which would be, yeah, that would be a Boston accent. Would be
Unrealistic. Got it.
unrealistic. Yeah, it'd be like smout.
Smout. I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe we're not going to rewrite this framework. However, I think that like anyone listening, if there are goals that you have, like really tune into what Eric just said, because that's going to pinpoint to you how important it is to you. And that adventure, I love that idea of making it an adventure. I never thought of that. Like even just looking at it from that place. And I have to say, I don't want to, tell your whole story, but like what you've done in your life, moving. I mean, I was really sad that you moved because we were neighbors and I got to see you and Julia, and your move. I mean, I remember this was part of your adventure and goal to where you're living, the way that you're living, your lifestyle. I mean, you've totally gone out of your comfort zone and created something amazing.
Oh, 100%. I remember talking to Julia's dad, and you're versed in the disc model, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I changed. We got trained in a slightly different version of disc, but instead of letters, we use birds. Can I share them with you really quick, just so people understand?
Yeah, and like DISC, so people know, is an assessment often used with like companies and the government. But yeah, let's talk about the birds. I
Yeah,
remember
really, it's
this.
personality styles,
Okay.
and there are four different personality styles, and you can go back centuries, and it's always been four. They used to use like fire, wind, earth, and water, and
Yeah.
So DISC, um, instead of those letters, they use birds. So instead of D, it's an eagle, right? Because eagles are what? Dominant, and they're flying above 10,000 feet. That's how they see the world. And when they want something, they're laser focused. They dive in and they get it.
Right.
Instead of an I, that's your kind of social, it's a parrot. So parrots are what? Colorful. They're party animals. They're outgoing. They're very social birds, and you can hear them before you see them, right? Instead of the S, it's the dove, and that's steady. And doves are, they're the symbol of peace. They want harmony. They want everybody to kind of cooperate with one another. And when a dove lets out a coo, it's like a cooing sound to, hey, everybody, I found food, come eat. And then the C is your owl. The C stands for conscientious style. But the owls, really, they're very methodical. They're detail oriented. An owl can rotate their head 180 degrees almost. They don't miss anything. They'll see a little rodent in pitch black and fly. You can't hear their wings. You don't even know they're there, and snatch. They're like just precise. So Julia's dad is like a big owl. He needs details before he makes a decision. Me, I'm an eagle parrot, parrot eagle,
Yes.
interchangeable. So I remember hey, we're moving to Florida. That was the idea. And he wants a detailed plan. He's like, well, what are you going to do in Florida? I'm like, I don't know. Do you know anybody in Florida? No. What are you going to do? I don't know. I know I'll figure it out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go and I'll figure it out. And he can understand the how, right? They want to, like, I can't even describe how many conversations we've had where he's trying to like pull it out of me. Like I have a secret plan and I'm just not sharing it, but I really had no plan. I just knew this is where I wanted to be. And there's a couple lessons learned from this move, Julie. And by the way, this picture behind me is a great philosopher, Mike Tyson. And the quote says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, here's what I know when you're setting goals, because we're talking about goal setting. A lot of people are going to want to know the whole kind of every step that it's going to take before they take the first step. And I'm telling you, it's impossible. So I'll give you this. I'll give you this exercise. If you're listening, just do me a favor. Stand up for a second and then sit back down. So chances are, if you're listening to Julie, your age is probably somewhere from your 30s to your 60s. That's what I'm going to guess is your demographic for listeners. 30s to 60s. The most attractive, smart people, that's who listen to this podcast. I already know that. Now, remember I said you're smart. Now you stand up. So let's say you're a 35-year-old man or a woman. That means that if you stood up and sat down, you've been standing up and sitting down for about 34 years of your life. We'd call somebody an expert at something if they've done it for 34 years very well. Would you agree, Julie?
Yeah, subject matter expert. I just got the whole government SME. Yep.
Yeah. Now, if I were to ask you, how do you stand up? Would you be able to tell me?
Well, what's funny is I used to be a personal trainer and so I'm like, yes, you would engage your glutes. I could, but not really like in the average vernacular. No.
No, give it a shot if you want. And by what I'm talking about is getting the idea how much blood is being poured through your veins where does the energy go from the brain to where before the glutes get engaged?
Right.
Then what are all the muscles and whatever else there is and bones and everything that have to move
I know.
for you to just stand up? And what percentage of the blood rushes to those areas?
Yeah.
How much air are you intaking?
You lost me on the VO2 max. I'm like, I have no idea. I could tell you like
what about your heart rate? Does that go up or down?
Yeah, good question.
Now, you've been doing this your whole life, and you don't even know how you stand up. Yet, most people won't even attempt to go after a goal because they don't know every single step of the way there. And so what I recommend is like literally suspend the need to know how. The how doesn't matter. Like if you're traveling from Maryland, where Julie is, to California, chances are you'll map that out. And maybe you'll get the first few turns right. And then there might be a delay, an accident, traffic. And after that, your whole plan goes to whoop out the window. You got to come up with another plan. That's how it's going to happen for you with every single goal that we take. And we want to be so perfect. You know, Jim Collins' book, From Good to Great.
Yep.
First sentence, the book starts off with, good is the enemy of great. And I would tell you that great is also the enemy of good. Because in order for you to achieve something great, first, you have to be bad at it. You're going to suck. Like that's it. Anything you attempt, it's going to suck. Just embrace it. Like if me and you are baking a success pie, the first ingredient is going to be failure.
Love it.
Now, what if you knew that's just the first step, like the baby standing up, taking one step and falling down? We all know that, oh my gosh, this is great. They fell down. Next time they'll take 2 steps. And that's what happens to you on your way to your goal. We just forget that. For some reason, we know that about everybody else, but not us.
Hey, my friend. I just wanted to share with you, in case you are looking for ways to really do good in the world, to make more of an impact, to be of greater service, to put your head on the pillow at night and feel like you're doing something very meaningful. So if you're interested, if you've thought about becoming a spiritual life coach, or maybe you're already a coach, but you want to refine your skills or just really learn new tools that are going to help you to expand, you are invited to my upcoming open house. It is free. We're going to be hanging together. I'll also be doing some spot coaching, and we're going to go into why this whole field of coaching, why it's taking off, why it continues to grow and expand across industries, how it's a healing path, and why and how to make money doing it and being of service to others. So come join me. All the info will go to juliereisler.com/workshops. And I would love to have you. Would love to hear your story. What got you interested in coaching, or why do you want to get into this world of coaching or refine the skills you have? All I know is that if you are somebody who others come to often, and they share and they are vulnerable with you, and you're a good listener and you have high empathy, definitely consider coaching if you have not yet done so, because you have the ingredients of what it takes, and I will help you to become masterful.
So back to my move to Florida, Julie, unless you have some specific questions.
No, I want you to go back to Florida. The only thing I think that's just really important to highlight here, to just it's almost like I'm seeing it in like bright neon lights, is this has got to be like you said it beautifully. It's got to be part of the recipe. It's kind of like knowing that if you don't have failure or some feeling of failure, that's actually to be expected. And I love that you just said that. It's really important. So, go back to Florida, because I think it's so great to illustrate how you use this.
Yeah. And so remember how earlier I said we'll never outperform our own self-image?
Yeah.
So that actually came from Dr. Maxwell Malta's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. The book was written back in the 50s. He was a plastic surgeon. I'll let you guys go read it. But that's where that idea came from. And so as I was journaling about my move to Florida, I'm literally creating as I journal. By the way, really quick, you have your phone on you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Have you ever Googled the definition of future?
No, I'll do it while we're talking.
All right, do it. And then tell me what it says. The first line.
All right, I've got a different page open.
This is the coolest thing ever.
Okay, future. American rapper. I don't think we want him. But
No,
that's
you got to say
great.
future definition.
Okay, yeah, clearly I liked him. Hold on, everyone. Definition.
Also American rapper.
Also American rapper who looked great. But okay. The time or a period of time following the moment of speaking or writing, time regarded as still to come. Yeah.
Time or a period of time followed by speaking or writing. So that means to me that as soon as you speak or write, you've created your future. And so I was writing out what it was going to be like when I moved to Florida. Now, remember, Maryland, we live East Coast, the ocean's out on the east, and I'm a water guy. So I'm writing out everything I wanted. And in my journal, I'm literally writing out what the house is going to look like. I wrote out that I'm going to live 30 minutes from the beach, and I would ride my motorcycle there in the mornings to watch the sunrise and like all this stuff. And so, no kidding, like within a year, we moved into exactly the house that I had wrote about. It's exactly 30 minutes from the beach. The one thing I got wrong is that I'm on the west coast of Florida and the sun doesn't rise here. It sets where I am in the Gulf. But what was interesting is that I didn't even believe that I could live right on the beach. Like my self-image internally, in my wildest dream of writing out my move to Florida in the house that I built, I still live 30 minutes away from the beach.
Yeah.
We'll never outperform our own self-image. So that's why we have to continually work on ourselves. And so next question is like, why? Like, what is it about me that doesn't believe that I can own one of those houses,
Let's go into that. And I also want to bring in the law of attraction a little bit, because I think what you're teeing up here, I have a little bit of I sometimes can hear questions that are coming in, just maybe it's myself. let's go into the why you didn't believe it, and then I want to bring in a little bit of this law of attraction piece, if that's cool.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know why I didn't believe it. I just didn't see myself as somebody who could own a multi-million-dollar home that's right on the beach, deep down in my subconscious. I just think
Yeah.
that's what it is. So now I
Yeah.
got to go back in and remove those and recreate something new, a new vision of myself, right? So I'm working on that.
Love it. I love that I love that you're always, well, it's this adventure. There's a new adventure. Um, with the writing it, because one of the things that I have experienced personally and seen is there's this goal, like, okay, I would love to have a beach home, like what you were saying. I know where it is, but where I am today, I can't really imagine how that would happen because of different circumstances. So so going back to your example, right? Like you didn't really know how this would come about, when this would come about. Talk to us about doubts and how you played with those doubts along with the journaling and the writing, because I do think this is really important. There's something obviously that shifted in your own energy, your perception that allowed for you to attract that. What happened when doubt came up? Because I believe not just for me, I think that comes up for so many of us. Like, how's that going to happen? I don't know. The money, the time, the kids are
Mm.
here. What did you do with those doubts, Eric? If you had
So
them?
yeah, I'm sure I had them. So number one, if you're a man, make sure you marry a woman who's very supportive. Have a partner who supports you, who understands you, who will, hold you and guide you when you're feeling doubts. And if you're a woman, do the same.
Yeah.
Right? I think who you're married to or who your partner is huge here. Because looking back at it, you're like having doubts. Anytime I start getting stressed out to the point where I'm like almost hyperventilating, Julia has this touch where she would just grab my hand. She said, "We're okay. We're gonna be just fine." And that's it. All that goes away for me. So I'm grateful, and I'm just super lucky to have a wife like that. Um, the law of attraction is incredible. I think I just knew it was going to work. And our plan was to come down. This was going to be during COVID. It'll be 3 years in December. So we moved in December of 2020. So COVID was going on. And June of 2020, I'm trying to get this timeline correctly. June of 2020, we decided that we're going to sell the house. We're going to move in with Julia's parents for 1 month, and we were just going to find a place to rent down here. Well, so we did that, sold our home, moving in with Julia's parents for a month, put everything in the pods because we were just going to find a rental property here. Julie, that's exactly the time where the whole rental and real estate market exploded in Florida.
Yeah.
One, I couldn't find a place that fit us as a family. And the places we found were way too small, and they would want like $4,500, $5,000 for rent per month. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
So we're literally sitting there. The movers are coming on Sunday. This is Saturday night. Julie and I are there. The kids are at her parents' house, and we're packing up. And I looked at her, and I remember 10 o'clock. This is 10 p.m. I look at her. I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, we're literally homeless right now. We have nowhere. We're going to your parents, but we have no plan. There's no place in Florida. What are we going to do? Within 30 minutes, like between 10 and 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday, our realtor calls. She says, "Hey guys, I know you want to rent and I know you want to move in July, but could you hold off until October because I think I found the perfect place for you. It'll be a new construction." She sends us a picture. Julie, it's the house I wrote about.
I remember you sending it to me, by the way. I
The
remember that.
price the price was like insane. Like, that price doesn't exist in this market. She says, "You have 10 minutes to make a decision because there are three others who would want that property." Sight unseen, with 10 minutes, I wired them the money. I signed the contract, and we were under contract. Next day, Julie and I woke up. We're like, "Did we buy a house last night?" So that's law of attraction. I mean, that's what else could it be?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that. I actually remember the little bits of talking to you when before the 10:30 call, and then when you shared the picture. Like, I remember this, and I'm just saying for anyone listening, like, Eric didn't know he was going to get a call at 10:30. I
Mhm.
remember very clearly talking to you and hearing, yeah, we're not sure. I don't know. Like, and you kept journaling about it. You kept really just affirming that this was important. This was the adventure you wanted next. This was the goal that you wanted to manifest. And it's just so powerful that how this happened. And every time I see pictures of you, or you show me pictures of where you're living, your home, I literally feel like I might be smiling just as much, if not more than you, because I'm like, yep, damn straight he's doing it. Like, it's awesome. And I want to, before we wrap and land this plane, I do want to talk about gratitude. You mentioned it earlier, and I think it's really important. You are one of the most grateful people I know. You have such an incredible practice and way of looking for what to be grateful for gratitude. And I want to talk about why it's such an amplifier, why it's so powerful, how gratitude shows up in your life, if there are practices you use. Because I think this is one of the things that we can often, I know, I have to remind myself too, we can often look at, well, this hasn't happened yet. I don't have that, or they have that. Like, no, gratitude. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, so that was introduced to me once again through you, not by you, I don't think. But um, and if you did introduce it, maybe I wasn't ready to hear that at that time. But you introduced me to Abraham and Esther Hicks,
Yeah.
and so I started listening to their stuff, and then I bought their book, "Asking It Is Given," and I really dove into that book. And one of the things that's really profound is that they have um, the emotional scale chart, and
Mm.
then they talk about the law of attraction and how that works. So when we talk about our emotions and we say, I'm grateful, or I'm happy, or I'm joyful, or I'm sad, or I'm depressed, I think that's just the language we put towards the frequency we're vibrating on. But it's not normal to say I am vibrating at a lower frequency. We say I'm sad, right? Or I'm vibrating at a super high frequency. I'm joyful, right? And so I never connected the two dots. And if you believe in the law of attraction, which I do because it's been proven in my life time and time again, the only way to attract that which we want is to operate from a place of gratitude, joy, and love. Those are like the highest frequency that you can have. And I started putting that into practice, being grateful for everything that is happening in my life, whether I want it or I don't want it. Because
Mm.
that's the key. It's easy to be grateful for everything going right. But what if, and I'm working on this, Julie. This isn't like a natural thing for me. What if you
Mm.
believe that every single thing that happens to you is for your greater good? Like, 2 years from now, you look back at this moment, no matter how crappy it is,
Yeah.
and it's exactly the moment you need to get you to where you're going, because it's going to make you stronger. It's going to connect you to people that you wouldn't have connected to. You're going to humble yourself, whatever that is. You're going to learn something that you can teach others. I don't know what it is. But what if we believe that, right? And I'm really working on that. And once again, Julia is really good at that. I made a I made a pretty crappy, well, at the moment it wasn't a crappy investment. I got involved in this MLM with crypto and started making so much money. Like, money was just pouring in. Within for a year, it did great. But what happened with me is I took my eyes off my business, because if I'm making all this money passively, why do I need to work, right?
Yeah.
And then it dried up. This too shall pass, right? Though we don't think this too shall pass when everything's going great. And so here I am now, going through my savings. I have one client left in my my coaching practice because I wasn't really looking to get any more. Um, and the initial reaction was, okay, we got to go find more investments like this because I got to replace it. And here comes Julia again, putting her hand on me and saying, hey, this is exactly what you need to go through. Let's regrow the goal guide. When investments come, they come, but let's just focus on this. This is exactly what you need right now. And that way you're not relying on anything else. And I'm like, isn't that a great way to think about it?
Mm.
So we started focusing on the goal guide again and got, getting that back up and running and came up with some creative ideas. But it's so easy. It's so easy to be a victim and not be grateful for the tough moments.
Yeah.
But the second we find that little opportunity, that little possibility of, this is good for my greater, for the greater vision, I think that helps.
Mm. Oh, that was really, really powerful. Beautifully said, Eric. And
Oh,
think,
sorry, Julie. You know
yeah,
what? I lied
yeah.
unintentionally. You're the one responsible for gratitude. That book reaffirmed it, but me and you, we used to do the rampage of gratitude. You introduced me.
Oh my God, we did.
Remember that?
Okay. I'll
Now
take
I
it.
know that's from that book too, because they talked about it. So I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care where.
yeah. Oh
But,
yeah.
but me and you would set a timer for 2 minutes, and we would
Yeah.
sit back and forth. What are you grateful for?
Yeah.
And yeah, I've used that so much with people, and it came from you. So yes, I apologize for not remembering that. I'm giving you full credit for my gratitude practices.
Oh my gosh. And I just remembered that when you said it, but it's all good. It what you said though about the emotional, our emotional scale, our vibration. I was laughing when you said, "Who says I'm vibrating low?" And I'm like, actually, in this community, we do say that, but most people do not say that. Like, you don't stand in the supermarket line, waiting impatiently and saying, "I'm vibrating on the lower end of despair right now."
Yeah, there you go.
People will be like, "Okay, all right, you are a wackadoodle," which I get that plenty, and that's fine. But this this is so important what you're saying, because it's not just what you're saying. Of course, it's what your emotions, and that gratitude. You've seen it in your life. I love that you just shared that, how it's really opened up your life. And I thank you for sharing vulnerably about, the experience with your investments and taking your eyes off of your business. And it's one of the reasons I adore Eric. You're so real and you share it like it is. And I think anyone listening has been in challenging times. It may not look the same. I was just thinking this. I know for me, this entire what I'm doing here, podcasts, my business, leaving my job to do this work, it all came from a real mess. They say like your message, the take the mess and make a message out of that, meaning
Mm.
you take the challenge, right? And I remember thinking, and I was praying to the divine, to God, saying, please help me to have healing and recovery. And so I can help others. And I'm so grateful for all of those dark nights of the soul, for my struggle with food addiction, for all of these things, for my thyroid issue, for all of it, because it's the energy, the passion behind my goals today. And I hear the same with you, and just reminding us even to be grateful, even when things look like they're not going great. You do not know how source energy, the divine, is using you to learn and grow so that you can be of service for yourself and for others for the greatest good. And I love that you said that.
Yeah, and you had to go through that. You
Yeah.
couldn't. So one thing I super appreciate about you and that's unique and stands out is that if I had to describe Julie, if somebody said you got one word to describe Julie with, I would just say love.
Mm.
Two words would be no judgment. And I think people need that so much because there isn't enough love and everybody's judging.
Yeah.
And you had to experience what you went through with your food addiction and who you were back then
Yeah.
in order to be able to not judge people, in order to be able to have that empathy and love towards them, and also see that there is something different for them, that who they are at this moment is not who they can potentially be. And you see people for their potential, not for the struggles they go through. And that is so huge, Julie. We need more Julies in this world for sure.
Thank you, my friend. And I just wrapping it up, thank you that I'm like, my heart is I'm so grateful. And this was honestly like, this story 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was really in a really tough space in my life. Never in a million years did I think I would ever, ever, ever say publicly I struggled with food. It was so embarrassing. I mean, it was just like shameful, like the idea that I'm eating, stashes of candy or M&Ms or whatever, undercover. I mean, it's you don't get pulled over eating M&Ms, but like, let me tell you something, the shame is almost worse than getting a DUI. I mean, the shame around it. And that has led to this new goal, these goals today. And I know for you, all the different things you've been through and turning to gratitude, even when times are tough. I mean, I know just as an immigrant going through your different experiences, be it in the military, be it like starting over in your business, I mean, all of it. And I appreciate you. And I'm just going to say it, being such an open-hearted, evolved, amazing, male. You have such incredible gifts within you. I was going to say in the masculine form, but I think that's like saying you're vibrating at despair. So I'm going to just say, thank you for being open-hearted. Thank you for being someone who is a stand for human evolution and higher consciousness. And I love what you're saying about goals. Part of what I'm really hearing underneath this all is that our goals often come from that pain. But when we use gratitude, it can really reignite that goal so that we get out of the realistic and we get into our heart and our divine and our higher self in something way greater than we could imagine. And that's what you're doing. I see that. And I'm so inspired and so grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Julie. Can I just leave your listeners with one kind of thought?
Yeah, it's called a heart flare. Please, I was going to ask, what's your heart flare, Eric?
All right. So if you're sitting there and you're like, that's BS, you don't know what I'm going through, there's nothing to be grateful for. Let's just assume there's somebody like that on this, listening to this podcast. So one, recognize that you're in the right place at the right time, always. But if I was to come to you in your state of, let's call it depression or vibrating at a very low frequency and said, I'm going to give you $10 million right now, would you cheer up? Chances are you'd probably be a little happier. Would you agree, Julie? Like if you're depressed, somebody gives you $10 million.
I have a lot of ways to use that. Yes, it would bring a smile.
Yes, it'll bring a smile to your face. Now imagine, here comes Eric. Here's $10 million. It's a gift just because you're a wonderful human being. Now, what if I told you that I'll give you $10 billion today, but you don't wake up tomorrow? Would you still be excited? Would you take it?
Hell no.
Hell no. So just waking up tomorrow is worth more than $10 billion to you. Then why don't we act that way? And right there, you can see that just waking up and saying, thank you. So grateful I got up is worth more than 10 billion bucks. That's my heart flare.
That is a drop the mic heart flare. That is really, I got no other comment other than thank you for the reminder, the powerful ass reminder that I know I needed to hear. I'm sure anyone listening is like, yeah, great point. And thank you. Really, really, that lands at home.
Woohoo! We made it home safely, and you guys were on the journey with us.
I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for being a soul brother on this journey. And I truly am grateful for you and who you are, who you're being, all that you're up to. I feel like there's so much wisdom here. And always, anytime I connect with you. And I'm grateful to share you with everyone listening and just for the person you've chosen to be.
We should do this more often. I love talking to you.
Done, my friend. Anytime.
Thanks for letting me take some of your time today. If you're listening, I really appreciate you. And Julie, I appreciate you.
Oh, so much love here. And I'm just going to say, we've got love for you, listeners. Thank you. Thank you. So much gratitude for you. Please take what you like, leave the rest. As always, I always say that with everything. Take the heart flares, take what resonates, and do not forget to make your goals an adventure. Make them unrealistic, make them way out of the park, and make sure that you're using them as a way to be your Youest You. That's what it's about. We love you.